Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Valpo Basketball Weekly, along with head coach Matt Loddick. I'm Todd Eichow. And Matt, we start with taking a look back at what took place this past week. Two losses, although the game at Missouri State, I think, was more encouraging than the ball game against Loyola. We can start with the Missouri State game, in which obviously played very well for a half. And then in the second half, their player, Alize Johnson, who is I think undoubtedly the heavy favorite to win Conference Player of the Year, sort of took over the game. Maybe just start off with some thoughts on the game.
You know, I can really talk about both because I think there's you know, some similarities in both. I think you know, in the first half of both these games, you know, speaking of Missouri State and Loyola, you know, we've really executed defensively very well. We've executed our game plans very well, and in the second halves, it just hasn't been the same level of execution, and specifically in transition defense. And so, you know, for us, we've got to kind of take over and carry over the game plan from the first half to the second half, because it's not, you know, and we've dissected the film, you know, dissected the Loyola film already, and it's not like they're doing anything different. I just think there's a little bit of, you know, lack of execution on our part. And you know, what I think kind of happens is our guys get feeling maybe a little confident, feeling good, and then you know, maybe try to shoot a passing lane that they shouldn't, or make an aggressive rotation that they shouldn't, and we're giving up a lot of easy baskets, and it's just it's not, you know, we don't have that large of a margin of error to do that.
I guess from an encouraging standpoint, these are teams that I think may be the two best teams in the league, and you obviously played with Loyola for over a half of basketball. You play with Missouri State for most of the ball game. Even though the final scores might indicate differently, you're not that far off.
No, we're not. And actually, you know, the one thing that I know is our guys are never trying to miss shots. And we looked at the front end of free throws. Okay, so in the Loyola game specifically, if we hit our free throws, it would have been a 3-point game with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go. But we didn't. And so it was more like a 10-point game, and then scrambling and things like that. So again, our margin for error is very small, and so we've got to, you know, lock in and continue to buy into the game plan. We are not that far off. You're right, we're not. So
and a lot of it has been individual players' inconsistencies. It's hard to score in the Valley. We know that the teams are far more defensive minded than what we saw a year ago, and the tempo of the games are a little slower than they were a year ago. But, you know, Marcus Golder's a great example. I think he'd been double figures 4 out of 5 games. He doesn't even get really a look at the basket on Sunday. I don't know how much is that is him, how much is the defense, how much is his teammates, etc. Derek Smith's really not a factor in a couple of games over the past few weeks. And then obviously he breaks out. He's in double figures, you know, early on against Loyola. There's not that consistency from player to player, and maybe some of that has to do with youth. Some of it has to do with growing up as a team. I don't know, but that would help if we had more consistency, obviously, from player to player.
You know, I think you're right. You know, and you know, for us, you know, yesterday we really only had 3 players score. You know, and this is Loyola game, but you know, Derek broke out. I think he had 14 points on 8 shots. Is that right? You know, Tavon, you know, pretty consistent. You know, obviously, I think he would want to be a little more efficient. Bakari was fantastic, but then after that, we had 3 other players score, and I think it was 2, 2, and 3.
Right.
And so, yes, and inconsistency, you know, we can credit to youth, but again, you know, we're done making excuses. You know, we've just got to be better. And, you know, I always say, look, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror, you know, what can I do to help our players, you know, be more effective, and what can I do to put them in better positions to score? And so, you know, for us, we're looking at that. I do, like, again, though, you know, watching the film, I thought there were a lot of positives. You know, I thought I'm more concerned with kind of the defensive lapses.
And it's mainly in the second half. For the most part, first half defense has been very good most of this season.
Yeah.
And you've touched on it. You had back-to-back games where you had defensive problems in the second half. Is there anything that can be done at halftime to sort of change what's going on in the second half?
So, you know, speaking, it's a tale of two halves, but in both games. But you know, the reality is that they're on our end by the bench in the first half, and I think as coaches we're able to kind of help them. We have a very quiet bunch, and we're trying to get more enthusiasm, we're trying to get more communication. It just doesn't come naturally for us. And so it's something that we're working on and demanding, but it doesn't come naturally for our guys. So in the first half of games, we're actually able to communicate for our guys. So as coaches, we're sitting out there yelling rotations, we're telling our guys where to be and all these things. In the second half, they're on the other end of the floor. And so it is harder. But I would say that, in the Missouri State and Loyola games, it wasn't necessarily the half-court stuff. I mean, I know Loyola got some backdoor stuff, which is, we don't pressure, so I don't know how we get backdoored, but a lot of that was transition. I mean, it just was, us maybe, our not executing our transition defense and them getting out, and I think they had 4 or 5 threes in transition, which really, really hurt us. Their half-court sets weren't, wasn't really anything that they were doing that was, we were breaking down on. It was more transition.
It was a good crowd. It was a lively crowd,
it really was.
And a great atmosphere. And Loyola is a team that came from the Horizon League, and you look at their level of players. Valpo fans have been around the last 10 years. You look at the level of their players, where they were when they left the Horizon League to where they are now, and it says something maybe a little bit about being in the Valley. And that's the point I want to get at. Now you see how they've made that jump. And a lot of that has been, obviously, they've recruited better players. Yeah. Is that helpful? They've been in the Valley? Is that a big reason why?
It helps in recruiting. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, we have a young man signed that we're very excited about. And, I don't know if we get him in the Horizon League. Maybe we do. But, the Valley is a prestigious league, and, it attracts a lot. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about, the players that we'll be able to recruit. But look, Loyola, when they made their transition, I think that they won 2 games in the Valley their first year. I don't know what their second year was, but I know all those players that were getting beat up consistently in the Valley are now seniors and juniors, and so they took their lumps, they trusted the process, and now they're a favorite to win our league. And I was really impressed with them. I told our staff at the first media, I said, wow, they're a lot better than I thought they were. And we competed. Take away our mental lapses, I think we're in that game at the end.
All right, we'll have another chance for Loyola coming up next month. But first, another home game on Wednesday against Evansville. And it's an Evansville team that, a lot of similarities to what you guys went through. They were real good in the non-conference, and as they got into conference play, they've taken some lumps right now. They're also 2-6 in league play, and their top scorer is a player who played at Michigan City, and Ryan Taylor. Tell us about Evansville.
Last memory I really have of Evansville is we went down there, I think my first year on staff, and they had our heads spinning. Really well coached, shoot the ball fantastically well, run a motion offense that they're going to screen you, get open looks. And so we're going to have to be locked in again defensively, and we're going to have to try to run them off the line, put them in positions that they don't want to be in. I'm hopeful that we can get out in transition, try to get some easier baskets, not go against their half-court sets or half-court defense. And so it's going to be a typical Valley game. It's consistently talking with coaches around the league. We have 2 wins, and I can tell you that every single team knows that if they don't play against us, they're going to lose. And it's just top to bottom. It's been a lot of fun. It's been frustrating. But again, I like our team. I like how the process that they're going through. I like the maturity that they've shown in the last couple of weeks. And I will tell you that watching film, we're not far off, like you said, and we've just got to continue to get better. And hopefully we can do that this Wednesday.
All right, good luck against Evansville.
Thanks, Todd.
For head coach Matt Loddick, I'm Todd Eichhorn. Thanks for joining us this week on Valpo Basketball Preview.